I'm Donna, an OpenSciEd teacher. This video will be going over B5 Lesson 9, the final lesson of the Common Ancestry unit. This lesson has a transfer task that is a great way for students to celebrate all they have figured out about analyzing data and species conservation. This video will go over how we got here, lesson at a glance, key moments, material management tips and tricks. During Lesson 8, we figured out that protecting polar bears from extinction with breeding programs or species relocation would be difficult. They're large, they live a long time, they reproduce slowly, and they get hot very quickly. In this lesson, we're wondering, can we use everything we figured out about speciation to explain a new phenomenon? This is a putting pieces together lesson. It'll take 2 days, 20 minutes of material preparation, no hands-on investigation, no required devices, and no additional related videos. There are 2 sense-making loops. Loop 1 will have students update their progress trackers and then close the driving question board together as a class. We figure out that we have discovered a lot about speciation, common ancestry, and protecting a species from extinction. And we're wondering, can we use our skills and knowledge in a new scenario? Loop 2, we're gonna organize our materials for our transfer task, prepare for the transfer task, complete the transfer task, and most importantly, celebrate our accomplishments as students and as a class. We figure out through the transfer task that wild bumblebee populations are in danger due to pathogens, pesticides, and climate change, and that there are interventions humans can do to conserve the species. Through this lesson, we figure out that protecting wild bee populations, in order to protect them, we need to maintain their genetic diversity, we need to decrease use of managed beehives, and eliminate the use of pesticides. First key moment is closing the driving question board. I have done an alternate activity for this where I have students choose one question from the driving question board to answer individually and then share it in a discussion. It's a really nice way to kind of get the discussion started and get the students more engaged and willing to share what they have figured out throughout the unit. Another option is you could have students come up to the driving question board on their own, mark up the poster. I'll usually have groups of 10 to 15 students at a time. Just go on up there, put a circle if you think we have not answered this question, a check plus if it has been answered, and a check if you think we've kind of answered it. And it gives a really nice way to look at patterns of what as a class we think we have answered. Are we all putting checks on the same question? Are we putting check pluses on the same questions or not? And we're thinking about what evidence do we have that the question has been answered. And that can lead to some really great discussions. I've got a couple example questions here on this slide. What will happen to polar bears in the future? And usually have some students share, all right, what have we figured out? Have we answered this, you think, completely, or is there some pieces of it that are still left unanswered? Part 6 is completing the transfer task. Students will be evaluating the risks for rusty patched bumblebees, and they'll figure out that the historical range of this bumblebee is decreasing, that pathogens are increasing, so disease is increasing, that there is a correlation to pesticide use and mortality of bumblebees, and that climate change increases the risk of heat stupor, that when we have higher temperatures, there's a greater chance that the bumblebees can go into heat stupor, which is not great for them. And then we're going to figure out what are the possible solutions to this. Okay, material management tips and tricks. This one, I wanted to go over the questions that routinely challenged my students or could have been a stumbling point. The first one was question 4. You can see a picture of the graph that goes with question 4. And a lot of the times my students are challenged by how do I read or interpret this graph? So I'll usually go over it at the beginning. We'll have a class discussion of how would we read this type of graph? How would we interpret the data? A nice extension is what could the bars overlapping tell us? So if we see that they're overlapping, like the red and the kind of beige colored bars, if they're overlapping, what does that mean about the data? Next question that a stumbling point, question 5, how does genetic diversity increase the resiliency of a species? If students are challenged by that question, they've hit a wall, I'll ask my students to recall what we figured out from B4 and B5. So thinking about previous units as well as the previous lesson, that when genetic diversity decreases, and we'll go over some examples. If genetic diversity is decreasing, what does that mean about the species? Okay, they're all very similar. If they're all very similar and there's a new selection pressure or new environment, and I'll give an example, usually some sort of camouflage example. Okay, what's going to happen to the majority of the species? And a lot of times students are like, oh, they'll make those connections now. Next question is question 8, the significance of the bees. I would ask my students to recall the food web from lesson 7. We talked about previously, if we remove polar bears from the Arctic ecosystem, what would the consequences be on those other species? And usually as soon as I mentioned food web, the light bulb kicks on and the students can continue answering the question from there. Next tip and trick is different ways that I have liked to celebrate student accomplishments. It says 3 minutes for it in the teacher guide. I usually like to give a little bit more time here. I like to lead the class through some closing activities, again, to help celebrate what we figured out in this unit. Some examples, glow, grown, and know. So one area that I I'm really proud of for myself, one area that I've grown in that might have been challenging initially, and then something random that I know. I encourage my students during this time to share fast facts. Like, give me a random thing, a random fact that you remember from this unit. I really enjoy hearing them. And then I will sometimes do a 1-minute summary competition. I'll put a timer up on the screen. And I'll ask, who can summarize this unit in 1 minute? And we'll kind of go around the room and add on to each other's thoughts. And then reflecting on the consensus model, looking at the before and the after, and again, seeing how much growth, how much we figured out together as a class, individually throughout this unit. There is no personal glossary management. And the poster that you're going to need in this lesson is the driving question board so that we can close it out. And I also like to have the consensus model available too. So when we get to the celebration at the end, we can reference it. And that is the end of the bear unit. Students went on an incredible journey to figure out what is happening to Arctic bear species, and they were able to take everything that they figured out and apply it to the bumblebee. I always love to point out that what applies to polar bears is able to apply to an insect. It's a fun way to close out the unit. Thanks again. And the next unit in the OpenSciEd curriculum is a chemistry unit that is all about thermodynamics and Earth systems.